Hello everybody, this is Triumwir412 taking a look at the game True or Lie, the first game I ever played on WebDiplomacy.net, and this one was actually a 7-day game. Most of the games that I play, the ones I've done commentaries for, are actually 1-day games, so each turn takes 1 day. This one was quite longer, and it's actually the game that I used for the very first lesson, the How to Play Diplomacy intro video. So the game is finished. I'm going to take a look. I was Turkey. My plan was to work with Russia, and since I hadn't really played a lot on the site, these are typically the territories taken by Turkey in a juggernaut, but I expected a great deal more, not really knowing how things worked out. But that is what I hoped to take originally, and then probably to take my last 4 from those. So that would be my 18, and we will see how that worked out for me. Started out the game talking a great deal, obviously, to Russia and also to Austria. I was hoping to pick up Greece and Bulgaria in the first turn, hoping also that Austria would take Serbia and then fight his way into Romania. And the way I had it set up with Russia, I was going to help in the taking of Romania, and Russia would disband that fleet in the south, really helping out, I think, with our relationship together. That fleet of Russia can be a trouble spot with a Russian-Turkish juggernaut alliance. And so for his part, Russia seemed willing to make that work. However, I don't get Greece from this deal. Austria decides, as he put it, to go with Russia, deciding to ally himself with Russia rather than with me. Still, I was hoping that I could salvage things. It looks like a great deal of strife between Russia and myself. All these moves we had talked about beforehand, even him moving to Armenia. If Austria had not supported Russia here, again, that Russian fleet would have been forced to disband, which is what I was going for. I would have lost Bulgaria, but I would have been able to come back down and retake it. However, Austria does support, and I lose Bulgaria. So at that point, I'm back to my original 3 centers. Also, you see Italy coming underneath here, setting up for the Lepanto, where he convoys the army across to Syria. And so, instead of trying to continue fighting, what I do is I send a message to Austria and to Russia saying that of my original 5 centers, those being these 3, Bulgaria and Greece, I would give 2 to Austria, the 2 he already possessed, and 2 to Russia, that'd be Smyrna and Ankara. And you see here I convoy Russia into Ankara and move out of his way and support him into Smyrna, and then ask that the 2 of them leave me be in Constantinople. They're happy to do so. I was actually pretty surprised with how that worked out. My quote-unquote original 5 centers included one that I had never even been in, that was Greece. And so I, in order to gain Austria's favor, offer to give him 2 centers that he already had, but he goes for it, and at the end of 02, I'm essentially a military non-factor. I just have the 1 army here. I do help Russia stave off the attack from Italy. You see Italy trying to jump over into Greece, but that gets stopped. And then he makes several attempts as things continue. Sorry, back up a little bit. Here we go. To take other centers, he moves fleets that direction to attack it even more. He disbands behind himself back here by his home centers, leaving these units to continue attacking, even though there's no way with my support that he can get it. So really, I'm just sitting back here helping Russia a little bit, not doing much for either nation. But I was supplying both Russia and Austria with strategic advice. They'd ask me about different situations, and I would give my opinion. And it really did kind of help because it made I made myself useful to them, even though, as I said, militarily I was not useful to anyone, and was able to keep myself in this. You see over here France, who was having some trouble with Germany, sneaks in here and takes an English center. England was really kind of a pain in the butt in this game. Upset about my, what he called suicide, giving my units to Russia. Accused us several times in group chat of being multi-accounters, that is the two of us being one person just playing on two separate accounts, which was obnoxious, but he is really not a factor either, with Austria being as large as it is, Russia being as large as he is. They really had no trouble pushing west. They originally were planning on France taking part in a draw with us, the three of us, and then France drops out. Right here you see he stops submitting moves. Russia and Austria continue to push west. I continue to sit there. Here you see I move to Smyrna to let Russia's new fleet come through, and then I move back in the fall. Austria taking out French centers over here, and France does eventually come back. You see the game kind of progresses pretty smoothly. There France comes back, takes a few English centers. But Austria and Russia were pretty upset with France for dropping out when they needed his aid the most, and so they decide just to continue pushing through, taking not just the German and English centers, but also all the French centers. As they do that, they start talking about the count, that is how many centers each of them will get, and they tell me that I should take Smyrna back, because then each of them would have 16 and I would have 2. So you see I moved my army down to Smyrna. I hold that in the fall so that I'm able to gain the center. That leaves Russia with 16, Austria with 16, and myself here between them with 2, and we draw the game. Not precisely what I was going for. I was hoping to end with 18 rather than 2, but I was pretty proud of myself in my very first game. In 1902 I was really screwed, and I end up holding out and not just surviving the game, but taking an equal split of the pot in a draw with two much larger nations. So that was the game, my first game, and hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to comment or ask questions, and thanks for watching.